Whether you're a parent navigating myofunctional disorders or simply curious about optimizing your family's overall health, the Myohacker Podcast is your guide. Hi, I'm Karindy, a speech-language pathologist, myofunctional therapist, and a mom on a mission to bring holistic health to you and your family. Together, we'll explore whole-body connections and integrative solutions. Please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review to help other families discover this important information. Visit myohackerslp.com for free resources and guides. Quick disclaimer. The content shared in this podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast or its affiliates. This podcast does not provide medical, legal, or professional advice. Always consult a professional regarding your circumstances. By listening, you agree that the host and podcast are not responsible for any actions you may take based on the information provided. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, everyone, to the Myohacker Podcast. With me today, I have Catherine Kangas from Integrative Myo. She's a great friend and local resource that I refer to and work with all the time. And then I have Colleen Zeni. She is with the Holistic Family Tennessee, or TN, and she is a wealth of holistic knowledge, all things homeopathy, and how you can support your family from a more natural and holistic perspective. And today we are going to talk about a new kit that they have created from their own experiences regarding oral issues, trying to go through expansion, dental work, and how it can be tricky for us to try and really support the body systemically from a holistic perspective. So I would love for us to first talk a little bit about what inspired this and why you guys created it. So Colleen and Catherine, I know you both have had a lot of experience working together, and then you were like, we need to make this more accessible. So Colleen, start us off. What inspired this?
Honestly, just our lived journey. We've been in the oral health journey with my 2 girls for way too long, 5 years too long. And I know this is a very similar story to many parents, just really diving in and, seeing all of these different layers and angles we have to support our kids with. And so in this journey, I've just gathered a lot of knowledge. But also I've been a practitioner for 15 years and I have used homeopathy and herbs to support my children's healing. And when supporting them during the oral health journey, I realized that I kind of wanted to bring all of this together to simplify for myself, just so I could easy grab and go, but also because I knew other families really wanted the same supports. And so I reached out to Catherine, who is our myofunctional therapist, and just pitched the idea because I know that she's working just on the ground with these families. And I wanted to just hear what her thoughts were.
And Catherine, what did you think about that? Or when Colleen was like, hey, we need to support people systemically a little differently, what were your thoughts?
Well, yeah, and I want to share, honestly, there was we were having a phone conversation one day, and I was asking her about my own son who had just or was about to go into his expander. And, I've dabbled with homeopathy for a while, and I knew what was coming, right? I knew there was going to be some first few days of discomfort and just getting used to that flow. And I'm like, what do you suggest? And it was this very organic conversation of like, okay, wait, we're both personally going through this. And I see this every day too. So like, wouldn't it be so nice if we just had something that was already like put together? Like, I would love that. I would love that. And so that's really where that was born. It was this conversation between 2 moms that had some knowledge in different fields. Her being kind of that functional provider, me being the clinician on this, myofunctional side of things and the tongue ties and expansion supporting kids and adults. And it was like just this, and then it was like lightning speed. We're like, yes, this is a needed thing.
And you guys brought it together quick, which I really appreciate because, we have patients and families and my own children that I'm like, no, we need this. I want this out into the world. So I do want to speak from the perspective of someone who, like, I personally have been a little bit skeptical of homeopathy just in the past, I've seen my first exposure to it, I remember years ago, I was, still very much working in the hospital setting and more of an allopathic mindset. And I saw this family and they needed medical intervention. And they were like, no, we're doing homeopathy and we've got this. And so for a while, I had kind of this negative taste in my mouth of like, oh no, people that do homeopathy, they're not seeking professional medical care and they're not doing these other things. That is not the case. And homeopathy, it is not necessarily in place of different treatment modalities. So can you clarify that? And I do want to sort of speed ahead and say that since then, guys, I have seen a lot of families who have really moved the needle as far as making progress and healing faster and just more thoroughly and in a more regulated way through homeopathy. So this is why we're talking about it, because I do think it is something that can really support families. But could you speak to that, Colleen, about the role of homeopathy in just healing in general?
Yeah, and I want to do a quick shout out to the fact that Catherine and I are so grateful to you. This is also a co-collaboration with Joywell, who is a homeopath. Her name is Jenny Hoglin, and she is the Enlightened Homeopath on Instagram. And then Kendra Needham, who is a holistic practitioner and really just a trailblazer on Instagram as the Holistic Mother. And so it was really cool to bring all of our strengths into this kit with, again, more deeper information and knowledge on homeopathy and how to support the clients and patients who would be utilizing this kit and the families. So really what we've seen with homeopathy, I've been working with homeopathy for over 20 years, not as a homeopath, but as a mom, like really wanting to utilize a different modality as a first line of defense. Also knowing that there is definitely a time and place for conventional treatment. I have been a mom that has been very crunchy, that has also used antibiotics and also needed Motrin, especially just recently when my youngest did a frenectomy and she needed a dose of Motrin. But also being able to bring in the oral recovery kit to support on just a more sustainable kind of path there. So let's dig into homeopathy and why we put this in the kit specifically. First, our main goal with this kit was to support all ages. So really infants. So we know so many families getting the news that there is tethered tissues and they need to go do these oral tie releases. And it can be really scary because some infants can't really get Motrin. I think it's Tylenol that's the only option. I don't know. But, parents are like, that are, a little bit more holistically minded. Well, what are my other options? Homeopathy and cell salts and Bach flower shine here. And so really making this an all age kit. And then again, up to adults. There is no risk with utilizing homeopathy. And I want to dig into why that is. But we really wanted that to be known that this is an all age kit. There's also herbals in here, and that's for 6 months and up. And again, and then a soothing salve that can be used intraorally and externally to support healing. And so we'll kind of dig into that, but specifically with homeopathy, this can be used from day one with an infant. And that's just what's so beautiful about it, because we're actually not using the plant material or the material that the remedy is being extracted from. I don't know how deep, Karindy, you want me to get into homeopathy, because it can just be a very broad spectrum of a conversation. And I know that we're adding some show notes to allow you to go deeper into this conversation if you want to dig in. But really what you should know is when we use homeopathy, we're helping the body with its natural healing process. So the way that homeopathy is made is we take a plant or a mineral or a material and you extract it in a mother tincture, just kind of like you would with like an herbal extraction. After that, you are taking
Wait, so can you show like an example? What's an example of a material or that thing that you then move to the mother tincture?
Yeah, so let's take Allium cepa, that's one of my favorite remedies. So it is extracted from an onion. And the basic principle of homeopathy is like cures like. So when you take the symptoms of, let's say we're cutting an onion, what's happening to us? We're weeping, we're kind of, all of our mucous membranes are dripping a little bit. So that is what's going to be a remedy that's suggested in an acute scenario for an individual who has a weepy, droopy kind of mucousy type of cold in an acute situation. So what we do is we take the onion and we would prepare it in an alcohol, and then we would start with the dilution process, which is where we're going to start to see these numbers behind on these blue bottles or the green bottles. So we're going to see 6X, 6C, 30C, 200C, 1M. It can go all the way up to 50M. But when we start going above 200C is when we're usually seeing it be supported by a provider. I'll go into why we have Arnica 1M in this kit, but I'm just kind of breaking down those dilutions. And the lower the dilution, the closer it is to the physical material of it. So we're going to see cell salts, which is a branch of homeopathy, in more of those 6X and 12X dilutions, which is more close to the material of what we're using, which are usually mineral based. So when we're going through this dilution process, when we're taking an onion and then we're diluting it, we're taking 1 drop of the mother tincture and adding it to 99 parts of water. We're succussing it and shaking it because that's energetically activating the remedy. Because what we do know is water holds memory. Water holds energy. An example I like to give parents in this is we make a cup of tea, right? We're steeping the tea bag with all of the herbs in it. We remove the tea bag. Does that mean that there is no healing properties left in that cup? No, we're left with the essence and the plant compounds and the healing compounds that is then held in water and then we're ingesting. I like to kind of look at that as like homeopathy. So back to the onion example, we now have this remedy that's derived from an onion that would acutely be used when an individual who's in an acute ill state with those specific symptoms can then say, oh, I'm going to match this to the picture of Allium cepa because I see that that is going to support my body in its healing mechanisms. It's not going to hinder it. It's not going to suppress it. It's going to activate my healing response to help me get through those symptoms. Because symptoms are just a signal. They are not the problem. So where homeopathy differs from allopathic medicine is allopathic medicine will look at symptoms as the problem and will address the symptoms. A fever will be addressed with Motrin and over-the-counter, Tylenol or whatnot. Time and place, of course. But if parents had access to homeopathy to try as a first line of defense, well, now we're taking something like belladonna, which is one of the top fever homeopathic remedies. And we're now bringing that in like cures like, and we're supporting the body in its ability to naturally bring a response to what we're seeing.
And can you clarify that? Because belladonna, it's toxic, right? Like it can kill you.
Exactly. So what's really cool about homeopathic preparations is during that dilution process, when we're taking 1 drop and putting it into 99 parts of water, and then we're taking that 1 drop from that dilution and putting it in 99 parts of water, and we're doing that 30 times to create a 30C, we literally have no physical material left of belladonna. But what we do have is its energetic properties infused into that water. That's basically when taken, giving it a blueprint to our body to go heal. And this is why it is so cool to be able to use this and give access to this to parents for kids who may be more sensitive. My children, my oldest, who's highly sensitive, does amazing with homeopathy and the branches of homeopathy because she's a little bit more sensitive to even herbal material. And I'll kind of go into what the difference of that is. And of course, allopathic modalities. So being able to have homeopathy as a first line of defense just empowers me. And it's not saying I don't see what a time and place when I do need that allopathic approach, but it allows me to feel empowered and in control. And what I've also noticed about homeopathy that I tell parents, we have lost the art of being in the moment with our children and allowing illness.
That's huge.
So what I love about homeopathy is we're actually taking a breath and we're seeing these different healing responses in a completely different way. And this is where the education piece comes in. We are seeing a fever with our child. We're bringing an acute remedy on that's matching the presentation of the remedy. And that's an art inside itself. And then what we're doing is we're watching. We're not seeing the fever stop because we know the fever is not the problem. We're seeing something else. We're seeing a shift of healing. We're seeing a layer shed. We're seeing someone move through to the next phase of illness. And what we need to start out educating parents on is not that illness or even acute pain, like with oral recovery, is bad, but we want to see them shift into these healing stages that homeopathy continues to support them through.
Can I add to that too, just as a parent? And again, I'm like a novice in this, but I've been trying to learn more and more because some of those concepts, to be very honest, like it's like wrapping your head around that is like, huh?
Yeah.
But I have found it to be so powerful as a mom to help my child connect with their own bodies.
Yep, that's what I was just wondering as Colleen was saying that. I was like, this is why I think it makes such a difference for the nervous system. I don't know that. Again, I'm new to homeopathy, but hearing you describe that, I'm like, wow, how much more empowered is that child with what their own body is doing, being aware of it, and instead of disconnecting from it because it's uncomfortable, actually connecting and moving through.
Mm. It's so good. I see this a lot of times when I help family with acute illness. It's so weird. I like love acute illness, not love acute illness. I love supporting families through acute illness because it is such a fear-induced
Yes, it is. Yeah.
season that families go through when our kids are young, and it's happening every other week during
For
high
sure.
illness
Yeah.
seasons. So these parents aren't wanting to reach for antibiotics every single time. They're not wanting to reach for Tylenol and Motrin. They're wanting to be like, what are my other tools? And this is where homeopathy and herbal support can really come in. And again, you do have to be patient. You do have to learn what a healing response looks like. Again, like with a fever, that doesn't look like belladonna is going to stop the fever. It looks like that child just fell asleep and they were able to find comfort because belladonna came in, activated a healing response that helped the body move to that next stage. And when we support the body through these healing stages, as opposed to suppress, even herbs can suppress, then they are able to come out from this acute illness or recovery stronger. And that is what I'm seeing with homeopathy. And that's why we wanted to bring this into the oral recovery kit, because it's not just expanding and getting width and releasing the ties. This is your guys' field. You're going to know those words better. I know that homeopathy is going to come bring a deeper layer of support that's going to keep going with supporting their healing, support them on a deeper level that we're dealing with the emotional perspective. And I have even just personal experience with this, with expansion and releasing tethered tissues. That this was not even just a physical thing that happened. I saw emotional connections happen, and you can't like dose for emotional, like with Motrin. This is where homeopathy, and again, one of our blends specifically, will help with more of the emotional component or tension release that we store based off of some of these hindered oral processes.
So let's talk about that for a second. How did you choose what you did for the blends that the kit comes with?
Yeah. So tapping into Catherine's knowledge, again, I'm just a mom going through it on that perspective. Like my kids are going through expansion and a tie release. And, I really wanted to tap into what she's seeing clinically. What are you seeing what are these families dealing with? Because it's just so complex. And so based off of the symptom pictures she came to us with, this is where I was able to tap into Jenny's knowledge from Joywell and of course Kendra's. And then also my own experience utilizing homeopathy for so long is we were able to say, again, each remedy brings a healing response. So the onion, allium cepa, like cures like, when we cut an onion, we have this symptom happen. When we dilute it, it can bring that healing to someone who is sick or in recovery. So when you know the different symptom pictures, you're able to kind of put them together. So we knew 100% we wanted to bring arnica. That is a well-known homeopathic remedy that a lot of people know about. And you're going to see that in Sprouts or, Whole Foods, and even certain hospitals are using arnica, which is super cool because of its presentation to support with bruising and pain and, deep healing and bone and all of that. So we knew we wanted to bring arnica in there because so much of this involves that. We also knew that we wanted to bring an emotional and kind of tension support in there. And that's where, to kind of not overcomplicate things, homeopathy has branches. So we've got homeopathic remedies that are prepared the way that I showed you into these higher dilutions where there's no physical molecules left. And then we've got the branches of homeopathy like cell salts and Bach flower. Cell salts are pretty much the minerals our cells are made up of. And it was really crazy. This is kind of morbid. So sorry.
Wait.
Yeah.
Homeopathy is what? Cell salts are what? Can you tell me?
Homeopathic remedies. Again, everything is made with that mother tincture. So we take belladonna, the plant, and we still extract it, but we're going to dilute it and succuss it a lot more to where there's no physical molecule of it left. And there's only that energetic frequency. Cell salts, you're going to find those in the 6C and 12X, and those are closer to the physical material of what you're making it in.
So is that why I feel like people can have a stronger reaction to cell salts? In my patients, I've seen they can have a stronger reaction to cell salts, maybe initially, than to homeopathy.
Not necessarily. And I'll just even say a reaction is so rare. That's why this healing modality can be used even for infants. You may see emotional shifts, but there has never in 200 years that homeopathy has been around been any kind of death or hospitalization or anything like that. Cell salts are made up of 12 minerals, and that I like to call them the multi-minerals. So someone will always be like, oh, what multivitamin do you have your kids on? Cell salts. Cell salts are really, like, again, infants can use this, where infants can't just go take, high doses of magnesium or anything, but in a cell salt formation, they can. And if you look at it like we're building a house, right? We need a really strong foundation for that house to be on. Cell salts are going to be the mortar that puts the brick together. They are what our cells are made up of. So with one of our blends, it is a cell salt, which is going to go help with the nerve, with the tissue healing, because we're going and working on a cellular structural level with that. And then the Bach flower, which is basically taking flowers in that same extraction method, and we're using a dilution, but those are speaking more to the emotional piece. So we wanted to bring those two together because we understand fascia holds memory and it holds emotion. And when we go and we release maybe a tie, sometimes we can have an emotional release that goes with that. And this is where your guys' world is going to kind of see that. And, Karindy or Catherine, I don't know if you wanted to just pause and speak to, like, when you're working with someone like CFT session or, one-on-one, are you seeing them be like emotionless through these processes?
No, there's a lot of emotion to it. For sure. And we absolutely need to facilitate that release, because as we are shifting the tissues through, whether it's an intervention like a tongue tie release or shifting even just midline awareness, and it's a lot of signaling neurologically and physiologically going through an expansion process, that is something we do need to facilitate as providers, whether that's us specifically or referring to a body worker, that we are holding space for the body to be able to unwind and release what has been stored in the tissue. So something I saw that you guys have included in the kit you have things for inflammation, for the tissues themselves. Can you speak a little bit to that? Because I'll see, like, individuals that have healthier fascia, they do so much better with the whole process versus individuals that, like, when I feel the mucosa, when I feel the fascia itself, sometimes I'll feel there are calcifications within it. Sometimes it just feels disrupted, or like it's not nice and cohesive. You can feel like, ooh, this isn't healthy. So tell me a little bit about how the remedies that you've provided support that.
Yeah. And basically, and again, I know Catherine and I have chatted about this just even with our own children. I have seen such emotional shifts when we're going through this. And that's exactly why we wanted to include the tension and tissue, which is a cell salt Bach flower remedy, because the body work is essential during these procedures. And so for families to be able to have a remedy to support the body to shed those emotional layers or help, again, bring balance. That's what homeopathy is doing. It's not correcting. It's not stopping. It's not fixing. It's activating our innate ability to heal. So that's where the tension and tissue remedy is going to support on so many different pathways. And I want to be clear of what cell salts are and what they're not, and keeping it simple so parents can see, this is a complement to the body work that is needed for these protocols or whatever. But it's not going and fixing it actually helps with mineral repletion. It doesn't fix total deficiency. That's where you're maybe needing one-on-one provider support.
So Catherine, I want you to dive in, because I want you to talk more about the hands-on of the tie releases, of the expansion process, and how you're seeing this.
And real quick, I feel like just to speak from a parent utilizing Catherine, where I'm seeing Catherine coming in with this kit is I really want to bring attention to this landing page where her guides are, because without,
so we're going to go, we're going to talk about them. Don't
without
worry.
her guides, I can't use this kit effectively. I can all day long bring support and healing, but if I'm not like utilizing some of these other techniques or exercises, that's not, complementing the whole healing picture.
One thing that, and I kind of wanted to allude to is I am a part of these child expander Facebook groups. Something that I constantly see is this, like, my child started expansion and their attitude, they are moody. What is going on? I don't know how to say this without it coming across the wrong way, but like, we're putting expanders on these kids that you're speaking about fascia and their systems, if they're really tight and they're really tense, and then we put an expander in there.
Yep.
Of course, that's going to light up their system, or, there's more potential to light up their system.
And honestly, I want to just briefly piggyback off that and speak just quickly to mine. I had to pull my child out of the ALF expansion because she was flaring, and I actually paused it. ALF is fantastic. It's fantastic, but she was in a little bit of a repressed state. I pulled her off. I worked with a homeopath one-on-one for systemic situations I was seeing. We were able to open her body up on an emotional level and come back to expansion.
I think it's fair to say, like, there are times, no matter, even working with really amazing health providers, I have had times where I'm like, we need to pause on this. They need other work first.
And also, there's so many different types of expansion appliances out there, and whatever you choose and whatever provider that you seek is offering, or however that goes down, there is other things that we can do to support that process. Again, it's not bad, good. This appliance is bad. It's not, it's just our bodies are going to respond in certain ways and in certain scenarios, and being equipped and having your tools kind of on hand whenever you see certain symptoms arise can be so powerful. And that is what I really want to drive home, because as a mom, that has been huge for my own family. Instead of the symptom happening, it's just like if my go-to was ibuprofen and I didn't have that in my house, or beelining to the store and like, oh my gosh, it's the same thing. It's just having those things on hand so that you know what to grab and it's right there. Nervous system wise, a parent that is equipped and prepared, that's only going to feed into your child through those scenarios, whatever it may be. A flu, expansion. But if I have a child that is expanding and they're not doing well, and I'm a parent who doesn't know what the heck is going on, and I have a dentist that says, just hang in there, give it a week. Okay, I get it, because there is an adjustment period, but my kid's going to feel that in some form or fashion. So we really, yes, we have products, but we really want people to feel supported through this process. And that's why we have, digital content. We created a landing page that has an insane amount of information, so that you're just kind of given a little hug as you go through this process, whether you're just starting or you're in the middle of it and you're like, what's going on? That's kind of from a clinical mindset of where where I see is being really powerful for people.
So Catherine, tell us about what is in that landing page. Like, when we go to that landing page and we see the guides, can you guys walk us through that? So the individuals are going to get the pellets, the salve, everything, which we're going to do a rundown at the end of everything that is specifically included. But I want you to talk now about the guides that are included and why those are there.
Yeah. Well, the landing page, so essentially whenever you get your kit, there's a nice little card. There's a QR code that is on the back that you scan, and it's going to take you to this beautiful web page. And Colleen has done an amazing job specifically building this, where you'll find a wealth of information. There is instructions on how to utilize, when to utilize these products so that you feel comfortable. We're not just giving you a homeopathy kit and saying, good luck, good to go. I mean, there's plenty of instructions there. I did create 3 different digital guides to be really supportive. One is on just nasal hygiene, kind of day-to-day things that you can do as a family to help keep the nasal cavity open and clear and for, healthy nasal breathing, expansion, and an oral tie release. So kind of covering a couple different aspects of these processes that a lot of families are going through on an everyday basis. And so I really wanted to hit those highlights. Certainly, these are not meant to replace one-on-one therapy with whether that's a myofunctional therapist, a speech language pathologist, your IBCLC, whoever that is that you're working with, but it's really a complement. Or if you're trying to find those types of providers, I really tried to pack in there information on how to get connected with the right appropriate provider team.
Also, as providers, guys, you want to buy this. I was telling Catherine, I was like, you should sell licenses of this because people are going to want to give this to their patients because it is answering questions that I have on a daily basis from patients. And it just helps because, we can cover things in a session. But I know as a parent, when I am in a session taking my kids to providers, it's busy. It's a lot. And so they can say a lot of things, but then you walk out and you're like, wait, how do I help them? What do I do? And to have a guide that you can refer to, that you can go back to, that is very clear. It gives a lot of details, but it's not overwhelming. It's so usable and practical. So as providers, guys, don't tune out. Like, even if you're like, I have my COM and I'm all good, like check them out. They're so helpful and families are really going to benefit. So, I mean, I would recommend you buy it just for the guides. Even if you're like, I don't know what to do, these guides are gold.
I have to just brag on my girl real quick because the oral tie guide specifically, I'm pretty knowledgeable on this topic, just being a mom in it. And when we went through it 4 weeks ago, Catherine's guide, where she literally shows healing progression, was gold. Like, just to be able to go see a physical picture of what healing looks like at that stage, do's and don'ts. I just felt really supported, and I wasn't in a place to like go on my Instagram and just quickly go find all these posts that we always save, like how many have so many saved posts and everything. And like, you're just not in that place to go into that. So that was the goal with these guides, and to include so much of Catherine's knowledge in a one-stop shop, because you're wanting to use the product, but you're also like, wait, what stage am I at? And is this normal? And then again, linking to resources if you do need deeper support and getting to a right provider. I just thought it was amazing to have videos and physical pictures attached in these guides.
I appreciate that. I really wanted to create, and what I had in mind, honestly, is I was the mom that my baby was born and I had bleeding while breastfeeding, trying to breastfeed before I even left the hospital. And, you know how that story goes from there. And despite everything I was trying to find help, and I had a little bit of knowledge at that time, but even reaching out and, talking to my pediatrician and doing the things that going to lactation support groups at the hospital, I was not in a good place. And I built this as something that I wish I had as a mom, as a new mom. So while I don't treat and see the young ones, the 0 to 3, I did try to include some really great resources to help find providers that will understand what you are saying when you reach out to them, because not everybody will, but there are providers out there.
Yes. So if you're listening and you're like, I don't know how to connect with someone, the guide is worth it just for that section to help you find someone, whether it's remotely, or how to ask the right questions, look for certifications or at least trainings for people that are hopefully in your area. So let's talk about what the whole kit is not. I know people have reached out and have been like, so does this treat me? Like, am I now going through expansion? Okay, what is the kit not?
So I would say that this kit, I loved I welcome all questions, but this kit is not going to fix airway issues. This kit is not going to widen the upper palate. This kit is supportive of you needing to go through procedures or getting that one-on-one suggested plan with your provider. We really are bridging a gap where providers are giving you that plan or what the next steps are, and you're wanting a toolkit to support the healing through that process. And, we'll also go through like multifunctional uses of this kit because it's not just with oral procedures. It really is for so many different things. But I really want to just like hit home. And I know Catherine wants to say a piece of like some of her digital offerings, that this is not to replace one-on-one care, whether it's with a provider like a homeopath or a myofunctional. It is really to bridge the gap of a toolkit to support you during the healing.
And this can be utilized for other, if you're going through septum deviation correction, if you have extractions, like honestly, there's so many different ways, and it's impossible for us to probably list all of those. I mean, I've utilized the calm drops when we're having some big feelings in our household, just, on the everyday emotional train that we have. If, your kiddo has an accident, bumps the knee, whatever, you could grab some arnica. My son has had a rash and I've used the salve on his side, and you guys, I'm like blown away. I'm like, oh, wow, that was really cool. That worked. So there's so many different ways that it can be applied, and it feels nice as a parent that these things are safe to use. And I continue to learn more and more from Jenny and Kendra and Colleen on those types of things. But yeah, it's so versatile. It's really cool.
So what about tonsillectomies?
Yes, please, to this kit. I mean, again, no, I'll get this question. No, it's not going to shrink your tonsils. I personally believe that's where working with a myofunctional therapist or a homeopath is going to be amazing for that systemic care. It's going to support the process if you need to go through that procedure, amongst other things like red light or, Motrin at times. But again, this is bringing in a first line of defense as an option. And we can kind of go through maybe a little brief of what each product is. But I do want to also say on the landing page, not to keep harping on this, but we will be listing all the different multifunctional ways that you can use like each remedy that is not just oral recovery based. So, for example, we made these remedies not only just for the individual going through the procedure, but also the caregiver. Like, please, can we raise our hands to how stressful this is?
Gosh, yes.
That's why I also created like these calm drops. Like, I am so overwhelmed with life going through this journey, and I sometimes need to take a breath, and I want to be able to reach for something that not only am I able to support my child in that procedure or waiting for the dental cleaning, I'm dropping some in my mouth because I need a little calm too. So, we go through all of the different ways that you can use this so you're not just stuck. And again, homeopathy can be a little complex because the cool thing about homeopathy and the confusing thing is that there's not just one way to use it. So one remedy like belladonna can be so fantastic for a fever, but it can absolutely be really helpful for another presentation. And, parents just need to get in there and start acutely practicing with it to get to know these. But, I just want you to know that homeopathy and like cell salt and Bach flower just have so many different broad spectrum uses that go beyond just the oral recovery process.
So let's do that. Let's talk through. Okay, so we've got the herbal drops. Those are for the nervous system and oral tension support. Then we've got soothing oral recovery salve. And then we've got oral recovery homeopathic blend. Those are our pellets. So the salve, let me go back. That was the one previous. That's like something they put on topically or intraorally. Then we have the tension and tissue support combo. Those are pellets. And then the arnica 1M pellets. Okay. So now, Catherine, tell us about the salve.
Okay. So to be very honest, this is something I've been like, I've shared it with you, Karindy.
Yeah. I feel like 2 years ago.
I've wanted something like this, like a topical, for so long because I don't know about you, but one of the sticking points sometimes is just that thickening of the tissue, despite someone just doing everything that we've asked them to do. They're doing the stretches, the frequencies there. Some people I feel like just kind of heal tighter than others. Or sometimes we slip and we forget. So just having a little like extra cushion, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. I wanted something. And that is something that I talked to Colleen, and she is the magician behind the makeup of this salve. And that's really what was in mind when we created this was, the whole purpose of doing a release is to improve range of motion and, that regeneration of tissue. So how do we support that? And that's so I've been so impressed. Now we have a very limited, number of patients that have used it, but from what I have seen, it's been really cool to
Yeah.
watch.
And I want to just also say I love learning about this, but I also love collaborating with those who are even knowledgeable, like just to tap into their resource. So I do have a herbalist here that is my mentor that I get to ping pong these ideas with because I'm just constantly up here thinking of things. And so she was able to really help just pave a path for what was going to be a really great salve that we could use externally, especially as, let's say we just had expansion or extraction or even just a tie release and we're not ready to go in intraorally and start putting it over a wound. What can we use that's going to be supportive of just kind of the muscles, the lymph area? And so that's what we really guide with directions in those first healing stages. But then, like my daughter had the ALF and it kept digging into the gum. This is a fantastic salve to go and do a little bit more of that acute wound as opposed to like the tie release. That's a little like you're not wanting to put that on there until you're getting the green light from your provider. But now, like for example, my daughter is past the stitches and the open wounds. So now we are taking the salve and intraorally starting to rub it on the tissue right there to really start this term, Catherine, like melting away any buildup of scar tissue. We want to keep it soft. We want to, keep it thin and moving. And so it's really neat to have something like this. And what we did is we infused certain herbs to help with scar tissue breakdown, cellular regeneration. St. John's wort, calendula is like a super well-known herb to help with that, antimicrobial, and again, safe for infants. That was a big thing when creating the herbal products was I really wanted this to be able to be used for the salve can be used with permission from your provider, intraorally with infants. And then the herbal calm drops 6 months and up can be used, with babies with some of the herbs we chose for that gentle formulation.
That's amazing.
To say, even my son bit the inside of his cheek the other day, and we just put some salve on there. So it's there's a lot you can use that with.
Mm-hmm.
Cold sores.
Yeah. Yes, please. Alongside maybe some lysine and, deeper support of why you have cold sores in the first place. But yes, acutely it can be used for that. My lips have been so chapped. I've been using it on my, my lips. It's got a lot of, you'll see in the ingredients, it's got a lot of healing ingredients. We've got coconut oil in there. We've got even castor oil, cold pressed castor oil, and then just the herbal infusion in the cold pressed olive oil. So good. So we've just, like I said, we wanted to create it tasteless. There's no essential oils in here because essential oils can be irritating to some, and we didn't want to bring that into little ones. So it's very tasteless. It is very well tolerated. And we wanted something just easy and soothing.
So what is the best way to use the kit? Like, do they do all the pellets at once, then the salve? Like what is the layering? How do they understand the timing of it?
Yeah.
Walk us through that.
Yeah, that's going to be where the landing page is going to be your best friend. It's going to guide you because not all, like what's really neat about homeopathy, it's not like herbal protocols. Take this twice a day for 10 drops a day. Homeopathy, again, is helping you tap into watching the person in front of you. So, for example, my daughter, right after her procedure, when we did the tie release, she was in pain. The numbing was wearing off. We needed Arnica 1M. And again, when we kind of touched on potencies, and there's going to be more deeper information in this show notes about potencies. But
so guys, just so you know, you'll see if you look in the show notes, if you're listening to this on your phone, let's say you're listening to Apple Podcasts, if you scroll down, you'll see how to connect with Colleen. Under that, there are going to be bulleted points that say like her website, her Instagram handle, and then under that, you'll see you can click on this presentation that she has that will explain a little bit more about homeopathy. So I really encourage you guys to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it comes with visuals, which is helpful because I know this topic is complex. But like, for example, we chose Arnica 1M, which is a higher dilution and is more fast acting. It means it's working on kind of a deeper, more acute, intense state, as opposed to Arnica 30C. That's not a bad potency, but with certain procedures like a fresh frenectomy, we're wanting to bring a higher potency to work at that higher intense state. And that's how the potencies are going to work. So I watch my child. She's in pain. Numbing's wearing off. I'm giving her a dose of 2 pellets. More is not always better with homeopathy. It really is less. And that's, again, the beauty of being able to watch the individual in front of you. And then on the landing page, we're going to guide you through what does a dosage look like, because it's not, if they maintain healing and there's no like, oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain, then you're doing it 2 to 3 times a day to maintain healing for the first 2 to 3 days. But let's say my girl, she's in pain and it's not cutting it with the first dose. Okay, maybe we're bringing more of an acute, more higher frequency dose every 15 to 20 minutes, and we're watching the individual. I'm not going to just keep going every 20 minutes for hours. No, I'm going to see, okay, I noticed I gave her that second dose and she's wanting to just read a book and go eat a snack. That's a healing response. That shifted. That worked for her. And I'm not going to continue dosing her. And so that's what's really neat about homeopathy is, again, we're tapping into who is the individual, how are they responding to this remedy, and everyone's going to be different. And so we will guide you and support you with resources to learn about that on the landing page. Now with herbs are a little bit different because we're not working on an energetic level. We're working more on a physical level. So herbs, we can say, hey, 5 drops 3 times a day are going to facilitate healing. That's going to be great for you. And so again, we go into dosage, suggestions for infants all the way up to adults on the landing page. But homeopathy with these 3 remedies that are included in the kit, every time brings a unique dosage and kind of timing in when you would bring it. So again, we've got the Arnica 1M in here. That is for intense kind of acute situations. You just finished expansion. Your mouth is sore. You've got braces. You're really feeling that soreness of getting those in there, that tightness. Arnica 1M can be really great. We've got the oral recovery blend. This is homeopathic remedies combo. So we took a couple different commonly suggested remedies and put them into one vial. And this is helping support a complete picture. The oral recovery blend is great to alternate with the Arnica 1M, and we give suggestions on how to do that. So what that would look like is we're dealing with the pain and the trauma and the bruising and the bone with Arnica, and now we're going to go support the nerve and the tissue and maybe the bleeding, and each one kind of brings a different level of support. We're alternating those 2 for the first couple of days of a procedure. And then you've got the emotional blend, which is, again, that cell salt Bach flower that we talked about. This is really supportive for all the times and in between. This is a little bit more working with the physical material because of the cell salts and the Bach flower. It's not the energetic preparations. So these are giving more of our cells the minerals that they need to actually heal. And so I'm taking these for myself when I'm taking my baby in to go get that tie release. I'm, giving this to my child when they have a lot of fear going into a dental cleaning. I'm giving this to my kid who seems pretty wound up before bed and just can't calm down and needs a little bit of that rebalancing, maybe tag teaming it with the calm drops. And so there's just so many different types of ways we can mix these in for different scenarios, which we really wanted. We wanted this to fit a lot of different scenarios that families are walking through.
Guys, this is amazing and needed. And I, as a practitioner, just appreciate that you've done this to make it more accessible for families who are wanting to really give a holistic support to their child, which if they're listening to this, they are. That's the boat they're in. So what would be like, okay, Catherine, what is one thing that you want families to take away from this conversation and from the kit?
Just that I think there's more out there that, yes, what we have right now within our orthodontic offices, our dentist offices, and a myofunctional therapy practice, we do everything we can to support our families. I know all the providers that I work with, they are amazing humans and they're trying to do amazing things for their patients, but we can't probably all do everything, right? It's challenging. And so in my mind, this is just another little layer that we can have. And to me, again, it kind of feels less intimidating as somebody who isn't as knowledgeable as Colleen to be able to utilize something like this. I wouldn't have been able to piece this together myself. I wouldn't have known what to do and when do I do it and what.
Just
and
think of like, you know, when you walk into Sprouts or Whole Foods and and all of a sudden they have like all the homeopathy things. And I'm like, I don't
I don't know.
know.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking that moment away out of my life. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's my hope, is that this can be a little less intimidating for people. I feel like there's a lot of families that want to reach for these kind of things. They just don't know how, don't know when and how. I'm one of those people. And so that's my desire, is that makes it a little bit more approachable.
Can I give one tidbit? I didn't know this until like last week. You're not supposed to touch it with your hands. You're supposed to use the little cap.
Yes, so good. I actually had an amazing branding shoot with a friend here, and she had her sweet little daughter. Just like and these are delicious. So, P.S. These are we use a dispensary that is a colleague that is a homeopath, and she is just fantastic. And so, what I love about this is a small woman-owned dispensary. She sources all of her alcohol, because remember, we're during that dilution process, we're extracting it in alcohol, and a lot of times we don't know where our alcohol is coming from. It's non-organic, it's got pesticides, corn-based, and some of our individuals can even react to that. Some of our very sensitive individuals. So what's so cool is she uses organic cane alcohol that is pesticide tested, and these are lactose-free pellets. So even some of the ones that you'll go see at Sprouts are on a like lactose pellet, and they're sweet. So kids don't mind these at all. But some very rare individuals will react to the lactose in the pellet. So ours are organic, lactose-free pellets, just to kind of cover our basis on all sensitive levels. But then what is happening is when we're using the pellets, because these can come, I get questions of, well, I've seen homeopathy in liquid. You can have a liquid preparation and you can have a pillules preparation. And we chose pellets because we want to be able to kind of utilize this in different ways. But the preparation, the medicinal preparation of the homeopathic remedy gets put on these pellets. So if we touch them, then we're kind of messing with the potency of the remedy. And so we want to put it in the cap. And we kind of have we have how-to videos on the landing page, and we just pop them in there. You're not going to get a kid that's going to mess with you on that one, because they're delicious and they're whatever, they're fine. We also do give water dosing extractions for infants, because infants, some of the pillules are a little bit big and a mom doesn't want to put that in a newborn. You can put it in a little bit of water. You're going to shake it like a succussion process. We give instructions on how to do that for infants in the infant section. So that is really neat about homeopathy. Another question I get about homeopathy, my child, because they're so delicious, my child just took down the whole vial of pellets. Am I taking them to poison control?
Right.
Cool thing, you're not, because your child's going to be just fine. The worst thing that's going to happen is maybe a little bit of runny stools from the sugar. And they're not, maybe. I just think it's very cool how homeopathy can be such a safe option, again, as a first line of defense for families. And the more you use it, the more you get comfortable with using it, and the more you're grabbing for it, as opposed to maybe something else that you don't feel as good about. And I'm not saying don't ever do that. It just means, have I tried this first? And I just think that's what's really neat about empowering parents to look into homeopathy.
So what's next? Do you guys have another kit in the works?
I always got kits up here. I always got kits up here. I'm going to say I'm a constant dreamer, and my husband loves that. So I'm always just dreaming and growing. I will say that I think, and Catherine, I'll let you speak to what you're doing. I'm just even trying to settle in and find comfortability in this new journey because, we got the tick kit and then this kit, and just really kind of let my wings spread on this. But I will give a little shout out to Joywell, who is one of the co-collaborators to this kit. They have this amazing membership, and they're coming out with some kits that look pretty cool. So,
That'll be linked to Joy Well will be linked in the show notes as well, guys. So you can access that too. So Catherine, I did want to, before we sign out, talk about, we have the guides that are a part of the kit, but then distinct and separate from those guides, you have your book. Tell us about your book.
Yeah, so it's just a children's book that was inspired.
Not just a children's book. It is a beautiful children's book. Guys, there are so many books out there about tongues and nasal breathing, and they're ugly.
Yeah.
Yours is not.
No.
It is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really
wait, what's it called?
Your Tongue Has a Home. And it's really all about just teaching littles these concepts, these basic concepts that we talk about in myofunctional therapy, where your tongue should live, lips together, breathing through our nose, and giving parents an opportunity to have those conversations with their kids starting early on. I wish, with my youngest son, I knew some of these things much sooner, and it actually has made a massive difference in the way that he has grown and developed oral facially and craniofacially. So it's wild to see that now that they're 6 and 7 years old. And, honestly, not to sound cheesy, corny, but this is kind of a little personal gift to them.
Okay, wait, no, that's not cheesy and that's not corny. That's a legacy. That's beautiful.
Sweet. Yeah, I love that.
That's beautiful. I love it.
But, they are the reason I do what I do.
Yeah.
Or the reason I got into this. So
absolutely.
It's been really
I think that's
fun.
all of us, right?
Absolutely.
It's these kids that we love our heart. And then we have learned so much because we've had to be there for them. And we've asked the questions and we've taken them to providers and said, it's not enough. I still need help. And so we have really, I know all three of us have gone into the trenches and said, I'm going to learn because I love my children and my family enough that I want to take the next step. And honestly, I know the people listening that if you're a listener, you are in that place as well. You're listening because you're wanting to support your family or your patients or the people that are in your life at a deeper level. And so that is just your book. Your Tongue is a Home. It is beautiful. It is your legacy. Guys, I encourage you to buy it and keep it in your practice. Keep it get two, because you're going to, don't do what I do where I go back and forth. You want to have it in your practice and then have it at home because your kids are going to want to look at it, especially the little soldiers in the sinuses. They're going to want to, yeah.
I got to tell you, my illustrator probably thought I was on something when I was creating this book, because trying to ask her to bring to light some of these things, and she has no idea what, tongue posture is. And, it was just a funny process. But yes, they were a part of it and creating it and got to see it come together and share it with them was really cool. And I hope that it does have an impact on other families and just starts those conversations. And yes, you can get it on Amazon. I think the link will be in the show notes as well. And then just as another sidebar, there is also a Breathing Basics for Kids recorded course that will be available very soon. That is, just again, introducing some of these concepts, talking about oral facial myofunctional disorders, how that might present in your child so you can identify them, and some simple, easy to do breath work. And it's me with my kids doing it together and just kind of giving a glimpse of some things that you can do at home. And so that will be coming soon as well.
And what's that course called?
Breathing Basics for Kids.
All right. So you guys will see that as well. How can my listeners connect with you? Where can they find you?
Instagram, integrative_myo is my handle. That's probably where I'm most active. And my website is integrativemyotexas.com. Yeah, those are, you can reach out either way.
And then Colleen, how can listeners connect with you?
So I'm on Instagram also, but really we're trying to build up the prepared kit page, and that's going to be where you're finding content that's going to help you really understand this kit and really understand its usage, and beyond just physical usage, emotional support, answer questions we're constantly getting in DMs, whether in stories or again with content. So yes, I'm the holistic family _TN, but I really encourage, if you're going to follow one, it would be the prepared kit page, because that's going to be where I'm getting all that content.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
so appreciate you both coming today to just share your knowledge. And if you are listening and you found this helpful, please share with someone. Please rate the podcast. It helps get this podcast out to other families so we can help people and get this message out. We want to empower families to be able to support healing wherever you are at in your journey.
I hope you have enjoyed this episode of the Myohacker Podcast. Remember, small changes can make big impacts on our overall health and well-being. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. This way, more families will learn about this important information and we can make a bigger impact. Head on over to myohackerslp.com for in-depth resources and guides. You can also join me on Instagram at myohackerslp for bonus content and demos. And if you have questions or topic suggestions for future episodes, send me a message. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, let's biohack myofunctional health as myohackers who change the world through intentional action and connection and breathing. Quick disclaimer reminder, the content shared in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only.